Let's pop this up right here, right now. This is actually a screenshot from the release out of the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's this big, massive report. This is the screenshot that I took out of kind of the middle of the document. It's not really the middle, it's down in the document. Anyway, the key number that we want to look at is the one that says Consumer Price Index for Urban Wage Earners and Clerical Workers, otherwise known as CPIW. That is the data that they use to determine how much of an increase to Social Security benefits beneficiaries will be receiving, okay? Now, here we are still very early on in 2026, but we want to look at this data because this gives us a trend, a trajectory of where these numbers are going. Well, month over month, they actually are trending down quite a bit. Okay, now here's the deal. As you can see with that screenshot there, it says for the CPIW on a year over year basis, it was sitting at 2.2%. Now, that's not the number, but rather it takes into consideration a calculation to determine how much of a raise you'd be getting. But based on these numbers right here, we're actually looking at an increase to monthly benefits for the following year at just 2.1%. Now, what's super interesting about this is about a month ago, we had this same data that comes out. This data comes out one time per month, okay, and it gives us the inflation data for the previous month. A month ago, when we got this data, we were looking at a projected increase to benefits somewhere around 2.4 to 2.5%. Now we're sitting at a 2.1% projection going forward. Okay, that seems very suspicious that it came down that much in just a 1 month period of time, okay? Now, really quickly here, let's run through some real practical dollar amounts applying a potential 2.1% raise to benefits, what that would look like as far as real dollars being added to a benefit check. Let's run through some real practical dollar amounts really quickly here, and then I want to give you some reasons why this is happening, and unfortunately, why they're really going to stiff us this year going into the following year here as we get into the critical months in which they use to determine our raise. Okay, I'll explain that here in just a minute. All right, so let's run through some real dollar amounts here. Okay, I'm just going to buzz through these kind of quickly here. It'll paint a pretty clear picture of what this is going to look like. All right, anyway. Assuming we get a 2.1% increase to our benefits for the following year, somebody with a $600 benefit would get a $12 per month increase, which, by the way, that's going to be completely wiped out with the Medicare Part B premium, whatever that happens to be for the following year. It's probably going to be more than $12, okay, just saying. Now, somebody getting a $700 monthly benefit would see a $14 increase, assuming a 2.1% increase to our benefit. An $800 benefit would see a $16 per month increase, assuming a 2.1% increase. A $900 benefit would get an $18 increase, assuming a 2.1% increase. A $1,000 monthly benefit would see a $21 increase, assuming a 2.1% increase to our benefit. Now, somebody getting the average disability SSDI benefit of $1,630 would see about $32 more per month based on a 2.1% projection. Somebody getting the average retirement benefit of, say, $2,000 would get about $40 more per month. And again, a lot of these are going to be eaten up by the Medicare Part B premium. We don't know what that's going to be for the following year. That's still a very long time from right now, but we know it's going to be quite a bit, right? You saw my videos over the last couple months here. We're projecting the Medicare Part B premium to go up by another $145 a month in the next 9 years. That's going to be spread out over the next 9 years. That's a lot. That's going to be on average about $15+ a month. $15 a month more is how much the premium is going to go up based on these numbers. But again, that's still a long time away. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so those are just some real dollar amounts, and kind of you can see what that would translate into. A 2.1% raise would translate into very little in regards to more money for beneficiaries on a monthly basis. Now, why do I say that this looks very, very, very suspicious, and why this is likely going to be the new trend for 2026, and why we are likely going to see significantly lower numbers as we continue to move forward into the new year? Well, I shouldn't say new year. It's not really the new year anymore. Throughout 2026. All right, here's why I say this. It's an election year. We know what happens every single election year. They manipulate these numbers massively, right? Now, not only that, last week we got the jobs numbers out. Those were manipulated to perfection, right? The jobs numbers came in, double expectations. Wow, unemployment rate went down. Does anybody believe this crap? Seriously, does anybody really believe this stuff? Seriously, it is nuts how much they manipulate these numbers. It is nuts. Okay, anyway, long story short here, we know that during election years, it's notorious for manipulating these numbers. Unfortunately, this is also going to be showing up in the inflation data. We're already starting to see that. Inflation data being manipulated in a massive, massive way. To see a huge drop in just 1 month, it's not really how it works. It's not really how it works, especially when we've seen literally stagnant inflation for the last 2 years. 2 years, whatever it happens to be. And all of a sudden it drops this much in 1 month? Yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, guys. Yeah, that's really realistic here. We're going to really believe that one. But here's the deal. As we continue to move forward closer and closer to the midterm election in November, which we know is coming, guess what happens in the summer? July, August, and September, the third quarter of the year is the year, or the time frame in which they use to determine how much we're going to be getting as a raise to our benefits for the following year, because that's the inflation data of the third quarter that they use. Do you think that this inflation data is going to be higher or lower by the time that we get to July, August, and September? I think we can all say it together. It's going to be significantly lower. Why? Because we're only a couple months out from the midterm elections at that point. So obviously, we're not going to go into a midterm election cycle showing, hey, look, everybody's getting smoked by huge high inflation these days. No, they're going to manipulate these numbers down to make it look like, oh, look, there's no inflation anymore. We're actually doing so well that we're actually making tons of money here because there's no more inflation. Yeah, we have more purchasing power than ever before. Yeah.